Discover the amazing billionaire mindset, 1 hour of life-changing visualization for your success. The crowd buzzed with excitement, faces illuminated by the thrill of possibility. Jake sat at the back of the seminar hall, his stomach knotting tighter as the speakers flaunted their wealth like trophies. He felt out of place, the glossy world of affluence glaringly foreign to his life as a mechanic in a struggling small town. As he stared at the plush chairs and extravagant decor, memories of his mother flashed through his mind. She had worked 2 jobs, tirelessly instilling in him the value of hard work and resilience. The rusty cars that filled his shop were his therapy, transforming into gleaming symbols of hope under his hands. Yet as he listened to the speakers discuss breaking barriers and dreaming big, his heart felt heavy. Would their success ever resonate with someone like him from a town fighting to survive? The summer sun dipped low, casting golden rays through the seminar windows as he wrestled with self-doubt. He clung to the hope of gaining insight, of breathing new life into his family's shop threatened by a corporate giant. Just as he lost himself in thoughts of the workshop, a familiar laugh pulled him from his spiral. Nina, his childhood friend, stood at the entrance, vibrant as ever, a reminder of dreams fulfilled amidst a backdrop of uncertainty. They shared a meal later that week. Over burgers and fries at the diner, Nina spoke of her life in the city, a world of opportunity and risk. Each tale sparked warmth in his heart and doubt in his mind. He felt small, just a cog in a machine that didn't care. He was proud of Nina, but her success hammered home the harsh realities of his own stagnant life. "Jake, you should go for it," she urged, her eyes alight with ambition. "You have so much to offer." A week later, he found himself standing nervously before a crowd during a local town hall meeting. "I feel invisible," he admitted, his voice shaking. "We need to stand up for our dreams and protect our town." The room erupted, muffled voices clashing like cymbals. Some cheered, others jeered, but a seed of hope took root. Fueled by the high-risk tactics drummed into him at the workshop, he plunged into ventures promotions that felt like shaking the foundations beneath him. He spun wheels, yet the engine of his life seemed to sputter and stall. Tensions in his home mounted, his family felt the pressure as much as he did. Jake, once filled with hope, now felt like a weight was pressing him down. Just when he considered giving up, fate intervened at the annual community fair. As he bumped into the billionaire, the man's kind eyes and humble demeanor surprised him. "You know, I grew up poor too," he shared, a world of understanding swirling between them. Jake's heart swelled. He realized success wasn't merely about wealth but about grace in the face of struggle. With this revelation sparking within him, Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. As the town gathered for the car show, he poured his heart into organizing the event to unite local businesses, celebrating their stories of resilience. The festival buzzed with laughter and joy, families coming together, a beautiful tapestry woven from their shared lives. Yet as the event peaked, Jake stood at the center, eyes on the crowd. Would he have the courage to redefine success for himself? Or would he let the definition imposed upon him pull him back into the shadows? Hope fluttered in the air, but the question loomed large: what would he choose? The festival hummed with life, a melody of laughter and community spirit weaving through the air. The sun, now low in the sky, cast a warm golden hue upon the faces of children darting between food stalls, their mouths stuffed with cotton candy and their smiles wider than the horizon. But as Jake stood at the center of it all, a knot of anxiety coiled tighter in his stomach. He scanned the sea of familiar faces. Some smiled back, friends, family, loyal customers, but others cast looks of skepticism. Whispers floated about, questioning whether he could truly pull this off. Was he the right person to lead this change? Doubts slithered into his mind, almost choking the hope he had nurtured. Turning his gaze toward the grand display of polished cars, Jake felt a pulse of determination. These vehicles, each a dream brought back to life with his own hands, echoed the stories of struggle, perseverance, and triumph. It hit him then that this wasn't just about the cars, it was about reviving the spirit of a town battered by economic storms. He could be that spark, couldn't he? The crowd began to shift, drawn toward the stage where the block of awards lay: prizes for the best custom car, the most unique design, and the fan favorite. Each award symbolized the community's recognition of hard work. As he stepped closer, the energy surged, uplifting him. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called out, gripping the microphone tighter, "thank you for being here today to celebrate our town and the hard work we all contribute. Each car you see here isn't just metal and paint, they are our dreams, our stories." As he spoke, the crowd quieted, eyes fixated on him. For the first time in his life, Jake felt the weight lift from his shoulders. Every struggle he faced bubbled to the surface, becoming a catalyst for his words. "Together, we can reclaim our stories and our futures. Let us support our local shops, our family businesses, and bring this town back to life." Cheers erupted, their sound washing over him, and for the first time, he could feel the connection, the collective heartbeat of his community. Encouraged, he continued, "Let us not just share our challenges but celebrate our victories, however small. Because when one of us shines, we all shine." He scanned their faces, searching for fear, skepticism, anything that might tell him to back down. But all he saw was hope. And in that moment, something shifted in him. As the awards were handed out, the air crackled with excitement. Jake felt lighter, a new purpose igniting his once dimmed spirit. With each passing day, he sensed change on the horizon, not just for his father's shop, but for the entire community. Yet, as he celebrated with his fellow townsfolk, a thought crept in: could one festival truly be enough? In the back of his mind lingered the concern that this small victory might be just that, a momentary spark with no lasting flame. Would it be enough to convince corporate powers to back off, and more importantly, could he keep the momentum going? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the celebration, Jake felt a mixture of pride and anxiety swell within him. He had taken the first step, but tomorrow would demand more. Would he find the courage to sustain this energy, to turn hope into tangible change? The festival might have sparked the flame, but how could he fan it into a roaring fire of success? With the weight of responsibility now pressing on him, the question lay unanswered in the air: what would Jake do next to ensure his town's revival? With the last echoes of laughter fading into the evening air, Jake stepped down from the stage. The energy of the festival clung to him like a warm embrace, but beneath that comfort lay an undercurrent of tension he couldn't shake. The community had rallied around him, yet he was painfully aware that one celebration was just a drop in the bucket. Would it really make a difference? As he made his way through the crowd, people greeted him with pats on the back and bright smiles. A little girl giggled as she pulled on his shirt, showing off the colorful bracelet she had just made. "You made a great speech, Mr. Jake," she exclaimed, her face alight with admiration. He knelt down, ruffling her hair, and felt a swell of affection for the innocence and hope embodied in her eyes. Yet, as he moved forward, the tighter knot in his stomach returned. He spotted his father near the old, gray car that had once been the pride of their shop. The man's gaze was fixed, a mix of pride and worry shadowing his features. Jake approached him, determination masking the doubt still nagging at his mind. "Dad, we did it today. But how do I keep this going?" His father smiled softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You just started, son. Momentum builds over time. Listen to what people need, and keep reminding them why this town matters." Jake nodded, but inside he felt exposed. Ideas raced through his mind, swirling around the fear of failure that threatened to eclipse his determination. What if he couldn't sustain the excitement? What if he couldn't meet the expectations he had ignited? The crowd began to thin, and he overheard snippets of conversations. Some were excited about the festival, others were cautiously optimistic. "Jake has heart," one man said. "But can he deliver?" As the doubt seeped back in, he left the festivities behind and headed home. The sunset painted the sky in hues of purple and pink, but Jake felt the weight of uncertainty settle heavily in his chest. Home felt both familiar and daunting, a reminder of all the unfinished dreams housed within its walls. Standing in front of his father's shop, now shadowed by the encroaching night, he took a moment to breathe deeply. The smell of oil and metal wafted from within, a grounding reminder of his roots. He turned to look at the empty lot next door, a prime spot that had been rife with potential until it was sold off to a corporation. What if he could bring that space back to life? A community garage, a place to fix cars and share skills, a way to unite the townsfolk again. His heart raced at the thought. He could gather them, involve them, and encourage their participation in something bigger. Yet he knew there would be hurdles. The corporate powers wouldn't just roll over, and he'd be up against more doubt. Determination sparked a heat in his chest, and suddenly, his thoughts were clearer. Maybe it started with a meeting, a brainstorming session, inviting everyone to share their vision for the town. If people felt ownership, they would invest their hearts too. That was it. He needed to act fast. He glanced back at the festival grounds, thinking of all those happy faces. They could build something lasting together. As the stars began to twinkle, Jake took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of excitement. Tomorrow would be the day he reached out, the day he gathered people who shared his dream. What could they achieve together? A community renewed, filled with hope, right where it all began. Yet he still felt a twinge of fear. Would they believe in it as much as he did? And in that moment of silence, a new question arose: was he ready to lead them into this unknown? The next morning, sunlight flooded Jake's small kitchen, casting bright patterns on the table. He sat with a cup of coffee, his mind racing. Thoughts of the meeting swirled around him like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Could he really pull this off? The crispness of the brewed coffee grounded him slightly, and the smell brought back memories of working alongside his dad, the two of them taking breaks just to talk about life. Jake glanced at the clock. Time was ticking. Nervous anticipation clawed at his insides. He had spent the night crafting a list of topics to discuss at the gathering. Goals, vision, community. But he kept circling back to one central question: would anyone actually show up? Would they care enough to challenge their own doubts? He pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts until he saw Mia's name flash on the screen. She had always believed in his ideas, even when they sounded wild. They had spent countless nights chatting and dreaming big under the stars by that very shop. With a deep breath, he called her. "Mia. I need help," he confessed, his voice a blend of excitement and fear. "I want to organize a meeting about the lot next door. A community garage. But I'm worried it won't be enough to get people there." There was a pause on the other end, and then she spoke. "Jake, listen. You've already inspired them. Just remember that. You need to trust yourself." She agreed to help spread the word, her enthusiasm infectious. A few minutes later, he hung up and stood by the window, gazing out at the empty lot. A sense of determination filled him. It was just a patch of land, but he could envision it alive with laughter and hard work, a place where everyone could gather, share stories, and pitch in together. By mid-morning, the sun had risen higher, and people began to drift through the streets. Jake grabbed his notebook and headed out, determined to make his idea known in person. He started with the diner, a favorite spot among the locals. As he walked in, the bell on the door rang, and more than a few heads turned. He spotted old Mrs. Johnson, her eyes lighting up when she saw him. "Jake, we heard your speech. You've got a fire in you, kid," she said, her voice warm. Jake allowed himself a small smile, but he quickly steered the conversation. "Thanks, Mrs. Johnson. I want to keep that fire going. I'm planning a meeting next week about the lot next door. Getting a community garage up and running." Her laughter rang out, infectious. "A garage, you say? Now that sounds like something we all could use. What do you need, dear?" One by one, he shared his vision, eyes sparkling with the prospect of revival. As he chatted with the familiar faces, the initial nerves began to peel away. They were excited, not just by the idea, but by having someone to rally behind. Hours passed, and he left the diner feeling lighter, buoyed by the conversations and the growing excitement. People were already talking about how they could contribute tools, labor, even gathering ideas. For the first time, he felt a bubbling hope rising within him. As he walked back home, a thought hit him: what if they could bring more than just car parts and tools? What if they could bring a sense of belonging that had faded over the years? The realization of what this meant sent a thrill through him, but as the sun began to set, casting long shadows behind him, the nagging doubt returned. Would it be enough? Could he keep that momentum alive once it was sparked? The invitation to the meeting would go out soon. But in that flicker of twilight, Jake couldn't help but wonder, could he lead them to a brighter future, or would fear step in and take over once again? Next week held promise, but it was still shrouded in uncertainty. Would they emerge as a community, united by dreams, or would the doubt he'd felt yesterday return? Jake woke up the next morning with a fire ignited in his chest. The meeting was only days away, and anticipation buzzed around him like a swarm of bees. As he lay there, staring at the ceiling, he could almost hear the laughter and chatter of his neighbors filling the empty lot. It was such a simple idea, yet it felt monumental. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed his notebook and headed to the lot to gather his thoughts. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled light on the ground. It was tranquil yet vibrant, a perfect backdrop for what he hoped would be a gathering place. Sitting on a weathered log, he opened his notebook. The ideas he had penned down during the long hours of the night felt alive now. He jotted down the benefits of a community space, the better connections, shared responsibilities, a renewed sense of pride. As he wrote, he imagined families coming together, children running and playing, memories unfolding amidst laughter and camaraderie. With excitement swelling, he stood and started pacing the perimeter of the lot. He could visualize a smattering of picnic tables and an old tool shed transformed into a community center. Each step he took reinforced his dream. His heart raced a mixture of hope and fear. What if they really show up? He whispered into the breeze. It was a question heavy with potential. What would he do if they came? What would they say? He forced himself to suppress those nagging doubts. Instead, he thought of the conversations he had shared the day before, faces lighting up when he spoke of the garage, their laughter echoing like a sweet melody. Just then, a familiar face rounded the corner. It was Mia, her usual bright smile radiating warmth. "Hey, you! I was hoping I would find you here," she exclaimed, her voice a refreshing anchor in his swirling thoughts. "Hey! I've been thinking about the meeting and how to spread the word. I want to make sure everyone knows," Jake replied, running a hand through his hair. He appreciated how Mia always managed to tether him back to reality. "Let us make it a community event," she said excitedly. "We can have a flyer, maybe some snacks. Make it more than just talk." Jake's heart fluttered at the thought. Snacks would definitely lure them in. "It feels more welcoming, doesn't it?" Mia nodded vigorously, her ponytail swinging. "Absolutely. We can ask Mrs. Johnson if she'd bake, and I can bring some drinks. We just need a few more ideas to draw in everyone." As they continued to brainstorm, laughter floated from the diner as people shuffled in and out. The idea of a community gathering began to shape the air around him. It was tangible. With each suggestion they tossed back and forth, Jake could feel the fabric of something beautiful begin to knit together, but beneath that growing excitement, a voice quietly whispered doubts. What if the expectations ballooned and the reality fell short? Could he handle that kind of disappointment? "Jake?" Mia's voice pulled him from his storm of thoughts, gently nudging him back to their huddle of ideas. "You're doing great. Just believe in yourself, and they'll believe in you too." He drew a deep breath. "Yeah, you're right. I just need," he hesitated, searching for the courage to voice the uncertainty. "What if we build all this up and no one comes?" "You won't know unless you try," she insisted, her gaze steady. Jake smiled, resolute. "Okay, let us do this. Let us make it happen." As they parted, filling the air with promises of fresh ideas and excitement, Jake couldn't shake the voice inside him, the one that wondered if this dream would flourish or crumble. Even as hope surged within him, he couldn't help but ponder, would this be the turning point for their community, or merely another forgotten ambition? With the meeting only days away, Jake felt the weight of expectation resting heavy on his shoulders. Was he truly ready to lead them into this unknown together? Only time would tell. Jake woke up the next morning to the sound of chirping birds outside his window. The sun spilled golden light across his room, warming his face and igniting the excitement from yesterday's conversations. Today, everything felt like it was in motion. He jumped out of bed, his mind racing. The meeting was inching closer, and he felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. After a bowl of cereal, Jake grabbed his notebook again. It wasn't just about the ideas anymore, it was about the people, their hopes, their dreams. He could feel an invisible thread weaving them together, tightening with each thought. Picking up his worn-out sneakers, he took a deep breath and headed out to the lot, ready to soak in the fresh air and think. Standing amidst the trees that bordered the lot, he closed his eyes for a moment, picturing each family, each individual he hoped to see. He envisioned Mrs. Johnson's hearty laugh, the playful shouts of kids racing to the swings, and the proud faces of neighbors who finally felt at home. There was a soul in this place, his soul, and he was ready to let it shine. As he walked around the lot, his mind drifted back to the doubts that had lingered. What if they don't care? What if no one feels the same way I do? The nagging voice reemerged, echoing like a persistent whisper. Jake sighed and sank onto the ground, resting against a tree. It was easier to imagine the worst. But what if he let that fear go? Hey there! Mia's cheerful voice interrupted his thoughts. She strolled in, arms full of colorful flyers they had designed a few nights ago. Look at these, she said, her enthusiasm wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Jake stood to greet her, glancing at the flyers. They look amazing. Bold colors and everything. Did you make enough? More than enough. These LL grab attention for sure, she beamed, her excitement infectious. She handed one to him, and as he looked closer, he felt a spark of hope. Do you really think this will work? Jake asked, still trying to shake off his lingering doubts. Absolutely. I can already hear the conversation buzzing around town, she replied, her confidence lifting his spirits. We could even do a fun activity, maybe a small contest or games. The idea blossomed in his mind. Yes. Like a pie-eating contest. He chuckled at the thought, the visual making him smile. And maybe a drawing for a prize. Perfect. Mia exclaimed, clapping her hands together. That LL definitely draw people in. Let us put it on the flyer. Jake nodded, feeling a lightness in his heart. Together they made the notes more inviting, adding little touch-ups and doodles here and there. Each edition felt like they were stitching something important together, piece by piece. As they finished the last of the flyers, Jake glanced up, his heart pounding. Mia, what if no one shows up? I mean, what if we work so hard and it all just falls flat? She paused, searching his eyes, the weight of his fears reflected back. Then we still did something amazing. We tried. Sometimes, trying is the biggest victory of all. Her words resonated deep within him, swirling around in his chest, pushing away the doubts. What if this was more than just a gathering? What if it was a stepping stone towards healing and connection? Jake felt the air thicken with possibility. Okay. Let us put this up around town and spread the word. We need to invite everyone. As they shared ideas and laughter, a sudden cloud rushed across the sky, momentarily darkening their spirited conversation. It felt like a warning, a reminder that storms could come in many forms, both inside and out. Just as he turned to Mia to share a thought, an old man appeared at the edge of the lot, watching them intently. Jake's heart raced. He didn't recognize him. Was this someone who could sway the pulse of their gathering? With a mix of curiosity and apprehension, he took a step forward. Can I help you? The old man's eyes twinkled with a hint of something he couldn't quite place. Was it wisdom or perhaps just nostalgia? You shouldn't be afraid, even the strongest storms eventually pass, he said, voice low but clear. Jake swallowed hard. What did he mean by that? As the man turned to leave, Jake felt an unsettling thrill. Would his courage be enough to weather whatever storm lay ahead? The meeting was just days away, but with lives hanging in the balance, it felt like the real journey was only beginning. Jake stood frozen for a moment, the old man's words hanging in the air like a distant echo. A strange mixture of urgency and curiosity urged him to chase after the figure disappearing into the tree line. He took a quick step forward, but Mia called out. "Jake! Wait!" He paused, torn between the mysterious man and the important work ahead. "I just need to know the storm he mentioned. It could mean anything." Mia's voice was steady, grounding him. She stepped closer, her expression softening. "Let us focus on what we can control. We've got flyers to post, people to reach." Jake exhaled, feeling the tension ease a little. "You're right. It's just there's something about him. I can't shake it." They exchanged a knowing glance, and he felt a flicker of shared uncertainty. Mia smiled, a ray of sunshine cutting through the cloud overhead. "Let us conquer this together. Grab those flyers, and we'll hit every corner of town." With that, they launched into action, a determined team energized by purpose. They put the flyers in various shops, at the park entrance, and even on cars parked around the grocery store. Each placement felt like placing a tiny seed of hope in the soil of their community. As they walked, Jake couldn't help but overhear snippets of conversation from neighbors. Some were curious, others enthusiastic. He even caught a few whispers of doubt. "What makes this gathering different?" one woman asked her friend. Jake's heart sank for a moment. Doubt still lingered, but he felt a stronger resolve to show them. "It will be different," he thought, pushing back another wave of fear. "It has to be." Later that afternoon, they set up at the community center. With decorations and a small stage in the corner for announcements, Jake stood back and admired the transformation. Bright colors danced around the walls, laughter from children echoed nearby, and the excitement in the air felt electric. But as the sun began to wane, so did his confidence. The doubt that had been simmering beneath the surface resurfaced like a sudden gust of wind. Mia approached, her face lit with enthusiasm. "This is going to be amazing." He nodded, though his stomach felt heavy. I feel like we're asking a lot. What if people don't connect? What if it's just another day for them?" Mia tilted her head, searching his eyes. "Then we've learned something. Either way, you've put your heart into this, and that's what matters. Don't forget about that old man." Jake chuckled softly, shaking his head. "You're right," he seemed wise. "Maybe I need to embrace the unknown." "Exactly. What if the unknown holds something special? Something beautiful? Let it be." Her words rang clear, like a bell of optimism. As evening settled in, people started to arrive, trickling in with smiles and waves. Each new face ignited a warmth in his chest. He felt that thread again, weaving them all together. But just as the event began to unfold and the atmosphere buzzed with excitement, a loud crash sounded from the back of the hall. Jake's heart dropped, adrenaline surging as he turned. What had happened? He rushed towards the noise, concern welling up inside him. Was the gathering about to derail before it even began? The gathering had started, but it felt as if the storm was looming closer. Would it pass, or would they find themselves caught in its midst? Jake took a deep breath, hoping for the strength and clarity he needed to face whatever was coming. Jake dashed through the crowd, his heart racing. An array of faces turned towards him, curiosity written across their expressions. The noise had come from a group of chairs that had toppled over, causing a silver-haired man to stumble back, flailing his arms for balance. Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced with concern as he reached the man who was now on the floor, trying to push himself up. "Are you okay?" Jake knelt beside him, the bustle of the room fading into a dull hum. The old man looked up, his eyes wide, momentarily bewildered. Yes, I'm fine," he replied, brushing off Jake's hand. "Just a little misstep, that's all." He chuckled, his voice rich with years of stories. Jake eased back, allowing the man to stand. The initial panic turned into a shared laughter, spreading quickly among the onlookers. Mia approached, offering her hand to help steady the elder. "We're glad you're okay. We wouldn't want anything to spoil this gathering." As the man regained his composure, he smiled at Mia, his face lighting up. "Ah, you remind me of a younger version of my granddaughter. She always liked to keep me on my toes." Jake took a moment to admire the scene around him. People were beginning to relax, the music floated through the air, laughter echoed softly, and warmth enveloped them in a hazy embrace. The atmosphere felt lighter after the small disruption, empowering Jake. "Maybe they could pull this off." The old man suddenly turned his attention to Jake. "You young man, what's this all about?" Jake felt a tinge of pride swell within him. "We're bringing the community together. We wanted to talk about the future, hope, and how we can support each other." The elderly man's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Hope is a powerful thing. But it requires action. What are you doing?" Jake hesitated. "We're starting conversations, making connections." "Connections? You have to do more than just talk, my boy. People need to feel it." There was an intensity in the man's stare that made Jake's heart race. Before Jake could respond, a crowd gathered around them, drawn in by the old man's charisma. Enthusiasm sparked in Jake's chest again. "What do you mean, feel it?" Someone piped up from the audience. The old man took a step forward, gesturing with fervor. "You need to inspire. Change comes from the heart. If you want some to join you, not only must you speak of hope but help them see it in their lives. Show them the way." Jake's throat tightened. The old man was right, he had been so focused on logistics that he had neglected the deeper meaning. There was a hush as the crowd absorbed his words. Mia stepped forward. "So how do you suggest we do that?" "Show your passion, young lady. Share stories that resonate. Encourage unity in the simplest actions. When they feel it in their souls, the storm won't just pass, it will transform." An unexpected urgency filled Jake. He could feel the turning tide. He glanced at Mia, who nodded, a spark of understanding igniting between them. This evening was not just about gathering people, it was creating a platform where their stories intertwine. "Let us hear it then," Jake said, his voice steady, the hesitation slipping away. "Who wants to share their story? Who feels called to inspire?" Just then, a young girl stepped forward, clutching a flyer tightly in her hands. Her voice wavered at first, but determination shone through her shyness. "I want to share about my brother." Without realizing it, Jake found himself holding his breath. He could feel the crowd lean in, anticipation humming through the air like electricity. As the girl began to speak, a sense of hope blossomed, and Jake felt a small shift within himself. But just then, the doors burst open, slamming against the wall. Cold wind rushed in as figures shadowed the doorway, their faces barely visible against the fading light. What were they doing here? Did their arrival spell trouble for the gathering? Jake's heart raced once more. What storm had he truly invited, and could they weather it together? The chill that swept through the room quelled the warmth just moments before. Shadows flickered like specters across the faces of those gathered, eyes darting to the doorway. Jake's pulse quickened. Who were these newcomers? They stood like sentinels, their figures outlined against the fading light, their presence both imposing and unsettling. He could hear the rustle of whispers ripple across the crowd, a blend of curiosity and apprehension. "Who are they?" Mia whispered, leaning closer to Jake. He felt the tremor in her voice. "Don't know," Jake managed, forcing himself to keep calm. "Let us just see what they want." The silver-haired man stepped beside them, embodying a quiet strength. "Patience," he said, eyeing the newcomers with a mix of scrutiny and curiosity. "Not every change is bad." Jake swallowed hard. He wanted to believe that. He wanted to remain hopeful as he watched the figures take a step forward, the lights illuminating their faces. There was a woman among them, tall with sharp features, and a man whose confident smirk set off alarm bells in Jake's mind. "Good evening," the woman declared, her voice cutting through the stillness. "We couldn't help but overhear." Jake's brow furrowed. They had come here deliberately, and her casual tone felt disingenuous. "I'm here to share a message," the woman continued, glancing around as if daring anyone to interrupt. Her confidence radiated, drawing some curious nods from those nearby. "There is hope, yes, but it requires investment, real investment." "What do you mean?" someone from the crowd called out, and Jake felt a ripple of tension. The man beside her leaned in, adding, "Your gathering is a commendable effort, but there is a path to success that goes beyond mere words. We can amplify your outreach, connect you with people who can make real change happen." "Amplify?" Jake echoed, a hint of skepticism edging his tone. Could this really be what they needed? Or just empty promises wrapped in slick packaging? "Think about it." The woman pressed, her eyes locking onto Jake's. "Think about the resources, the networks we could bring you access to." "Resources?" Jake's heart raced again, but this time it was from a mixture of excitement and fear. "What is the catch?" The crowd stirred, sensing the tension rising. They were seeking hope, but could they trust these strangers? Moments dragged as Jake weighed the potential against the risks. He felt a flicker of doubt and hope intertwined, swirling like a storm within him. The silver-haired man tilted his head, watching the confrontation unfold. "Sometimes, the hardest decisions come with the brightest possibilities," he murmured, almost to himself. "Look, if you really want to make an impact," the woman said, snapping Jake back to the moment, "there is no time for hesitation. Join forces with us." "What if we don't want to?" a voice shot back from the crowd, holding a collective breath in the air. "Then you'll remain stuck in place," the man countered smoothly, his confidence unshaken. Jake felt that pressing weight of responsibility bearing down on him. He could see Mia's anxious expression, could sense the unease spreading like wildfire through the crowd. That he took a deep breath, glancing between the strangers and the faces of his friends. This battle for hope, to believe in change or not, was taking shape before him. "Let us take a moment," he said, raising his hand. The room stilled. "This is a decision that can change everything for us. Can we take a step back and discuss what we truly want?" Before he could continue, the young girl, still clutching her flyer, spoke up. "But what if that is not enough?" Jake's heart sank. She was right. Their dreams mattered, but at what cost? The shadows had deepened, the stakes higher than he had ever realized. As murmurs of uncertainty filled the air, Jake felt a realization prick at him. This was a defining moment. They could face this storm together, or be swept away, forgotten. What were they willing to sacrifice for their hope? Would they be bold enough to carve their futures in the midst of uncertainty? The room buzzed with tension, every gaze locked on Jake as he stood between the strangers and his community. The stakes were high, he could feel every heartbeat echoing his own. With determination coursing through him, he stepped forward, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "Let us talk," he said, glancing at the woman, then sweeping his eyes over the crowd. "If we want to believe in change, we have to understand exactly what that means for us." Their whispers faded, leaving behind a heavy silence. The silver-haired man nodded, clearly appreciating the gravity of the moment. Jake took a deep breath, harnessing the flickering hope that had ignited within him during the festival. "Listen, I came here for my town. I want to spark a movement, to ignite our dreams. But I want to do that on someone else's terms." He paused, the weight of his words hanging in the air. "I want to hear your stories, your struggles. This isn't just about resources, it's about connection and unity." The young girl stepped out from the crowd, her voice small but resolute. "But what if your unity isn't enough? What if we need more?" This was a pivotal moment for Jake. Rather than falter, he found strength. "You're right. We need both connection and support. But at our core, we need to trust each other. We can't let fear drive our decisions." He caught Mia's eye, and she offered an encouraging smile. The crowd was shifting, faces lighting up as the tension began to dissolve. "It's time we decide who we are as a community, how we want to stand together. Let us create our own path." The energy in the room began to transform. Glimmers of understanding spark among the townsfolk as they exchanged glances, rekindling a sense of hope. Mia stepped forward beside him. We can set our own foundation. A community garage born from our dreams, supported by our perseverance. We don't need someone to define success for us. A few voices joined in, determined yet cautious. But how can we fund this? We still need resources. Jake held up his hands, wishing to center the conversation. Resources don't just come wrapped in packages. They are the dedication we bring, the skills we share, and the businesses we support together. The silver-haired man nodded thoughtfully as Jake continued, we can hold events, crowdsource ideas, bring in local businesses to lead workshops and share talents. This is about more than money, it's about bringing us together. The old man smiled warmly. When we realize our own worth, no storm can break us. Jake felt the tide truly turning. He could see reflections of determination lighting up the crowd's faces as they started to uplift one another. Murmurs of agreement swirled around the hall, their voices rising with excitement. They were hungry for real change, and Jake was ready to lead them. One by one, names volunteered for planning, ideas flowed freely, and passions ignited. Farmers offered to donate goods, teachers proposed workshops on practical skills, local artists wanted to provide creative expression through murals at the garage. Strengthened by trust, they crafted a plan that soared above their doubts. By the end of the night, they had determined a date for their first official meeting. Together, they would map out their future with clarity and purpose. As the crowd began to filter out, Jake felt the reminder of the old man's words resonate in his chest. It was about passion and connection, not just resources. Days progressed, and as the meeting day approached, Jake stood beneath the old oak tree in the empty lot. The sun hung low, casting warmth on his back. He thought of the potential the space held, the laughter, conversations, and dreams yet to unfold. When the day finally arrived, the lot buzzed with anticipation. Neighbors gathered, their excitement palpable, and as Jake looked out at the diverse faces around him, he felt a surge of hope. They had weathered the storm and emerged united. Jake stepped up, facing his community, and proclaimed, "Today is about more than just a garage, it's about who we are together. These dreams we share are anchors for our future." The crowd erupted with cheers, their energy contagious. It felt like the winds had shifted, filling their sails with newfound resolve. As the sun began to set, casting golden hues on their gathering, Jake looked at the faces filled with determination and purpose. It was a culmination of their hopes. The storm had passed, and now they stood at the edge of a bright, uncharted future, together. In that moment, Jake knew they could do this. Their unity was stronger than any forces trying to divide them. They were on the verge of something extraordinary. As the crowd continued to celebrate, Jake's heart swelled with joy. This was only the beginning, and with their support, he felt unstoppable. The dreams of their small town were finally coming to life now. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this incredible journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this life-changing ending, because your voice matters. And don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together we can build a community of hope. You need to support this channel.